Káàbọ̀.
Ṣé àlàáfíà ni? I am IFA Jaminire.
And I am IFA Gunshare.
And you are tuned into
the best,
the greatest
podcast
on
the planet
Earth. Let's talk
IFA. Ashe.
Ẹ káàbọ̀. Ṣé dáadáa lóde tire. Ẹ káàbọ̀. Ṣé dáadáa lóde tire. Ẹ káàbọ̀. Ṣé dáadáa lóde. Ṣé àlàáfíà ni, everybody. We pray that you are well as usual. You and your families. We pray for you, your children, your husbands, your wives, your people, your teachers, your everybody. You know, we thank you for, as usual, for all your support, all the love, all the comments, and all the, support that we've been getting from our viewers. We appreciate y'all. Please continue to like, share, and subscribe. How you doing, brother?
I'm well, and yourself, my brother?
Yeah, I'm fantastic, brother. I'm blessed.
So
we got an interesting topic for the people today. I think that this will be very insightful. For some people, it'll be eye-opening. For some people have had some experiences with maybe this before, with people they know, teachers, friends, husband or wife or whatever. Today's topic on Let's Talk IFA is spiritual psychosis.
Ouch. I think this one sums it up of what's going on out here today. I think spiritual psychosis kind of sums this up.
Let's break the definition down. I read the first part. You can read the other one.
No problem.
Spiritual psychosis is defined as the way that your brain processes information. It causes you to lose touch with reality. You might see, hear, or believe things that aren't real. Psychosis is a symptom and not an illness. It can be triggered by a mental illness, a physical injury or illness, substance abuse, or extreme stress or trauma. I'll go ahead and read the second one since I'm reading already. Spiritual psychosis is a mental health condition that occurs when a person's spiritual experiences become so intense that they can't distinguish between reality and their spiritual perceptions. It can cause symptoms similar to a psychotic episode, such as delusions, hallucinations, paranoia, personality changes, confusion, and intense emotional disturbances. Spiritual psychosis is different from a typical psychotic episode caused by a mental health disorder because it's directly linked to a person's spiritual or religious experiences. Some spiritual practices like meditation, yoga, qigong, etc. can trigger spiritual emergencies. When this happens, teachers often recommend temporarily stopping the practice until the person is more stable. Some behavioral warning signs of psychosis include suspiciousness or paranoia, difficulty thinking clearly, withdrawing socially, unusual or intense ideas, strange feelings or lack of feelings, a decline in self-care or personal hygiene. God dang. But that's a mouthful right there. We got to unpack. That's a lot to unpack.
Yes. And this is why the practice, the gentle practice of spiritual care was spiritually caring
hygiene
for your ori, right? Because this is why the gentle spiritual careness of the Ori, stroking the Ori spiritually, gently doing it, because a lot of times we see a lot of people as diviners. We get calls, and a lot of times we get those calls where a person, they sound paranoid. Somebody is always, somebody is throwing something at my door. I woke up and I saw some white dust in front of my door, or I saw some cracked eggs in my yard. You get those calls. I know I've gotten those calls a lot of times. And it's like, can you do something? Because somebody is doing witchcraft for me. Most of these people don't know that they may have, issues within their mind, or they may be spiritual psychosis that derives from a generational curse, or and then again with that word curse is another thing, because a lot of people think when you say curse, it's like somebody done thrown something on you. But a curse can be the mere fact that you may have broken some taboos that you don't even know about.
You can curse yourself.
You don't even know about.
Curse your whole bloodline.
Right. And it can be, like we said, taboos that have been broken, and you don't even know your family taboos. You know what I mean? So when people approach Babalawo or Lorisha priests, they are not aware of the culture and how our practice goes. They all of a sudden think because we Babalawo or we priests, they look at us as somebody that works voodoo or black magic. Yeah. And we know that voodoo is not even called, it's Vodun. And Vodun is the celebration of Olodumare, or God, right? But black magic, and they don't know that, okay, what I'm feeling can be something that's generational. What I'm going through, the psychosis that I have, it can be generational. Something that passed down, something that my mother and her mother and so on had, and then they didn't do anything to stop it. And so now it's then passed down to the next child. And they're dealing with the same thing that they great-great-great-grandmother or their great-great-grandfather
History
had.
repeat itself.
So history, exactly.
Unless you do something
and
to
so
change it.
It's in the bloodline. And so this is why IFA is here. And what do we say? The first thing we say when a new devotee comes in is you get a dafa and you appease your Ori. You learn how to appease your Ori gently. You should at least take a year just working on your Ori and learning how to gently care for your Ori.
They don't want to hear that.
Exactly.
They don't want to hear
because everybody want a quick fix.
Yeah.
So what do they go to? They go to Palo. Because they said, well, Palo works fast. Now, I'm just saying things that I've heard.
Or they want to hurry up and get their hand on e-file, whatever it is. Right. They don't want to take a year, because that's what my elder, Ibarato on Chief Adeyemi, told me. For new people, you start with your ancestor shrine and your Ori.
Yes.
For 6 months to a year.
Just that.
Before we even start talking about Orisha, and just to get, especially if you fresh, if you new.
Yeah, those are the things that will help to overcome those spiritual psychosis, because a lot of people come and they are delusional. They don't know that they could be the cause of the very problem they come into you with.
Misfortune.
But they're saying it's the next door neighbor doing something.
It's the next door neighbor, or
that's a famous one.
Or it's the Iami, or it's...
No, but I'm talking about people who don't know nothing about the Iami. I'm talking people who...
It's somebody next door.
Right. We get these types of things from people who know nothing about IFA, nothing about the culture, nothing, and they just want a quick fix.
They think it's such and such.
And I mean, I didn't have people that did or rework for them, and it calmed down a little bit, and then they right back at it. Somebody's doing something to me. They're coming in my dreams. They're haunting me.
Oh, yeah.
They're doing this and that, and it's like, no, it's actually you. They don't want to hear that it's them. No, it's my next door neighbor. It's sister such and such in the church. You know what I mean? And they're not looking at themselves.
It's the last place that most people want to look is at themselves. And this is a deep topic because we don't want to discredit or discount the fact that there are wicked people out here that do things, that do things to people that's out here. It does exist. But it's a thin line and it's a fine line between, is somebody actually doing something to you? Or are you paranoid? Are you just perceiving this? Is this something that's really in your mind? Or is something actually happening to you, but it's not coming from that person or that source that you think is coming from?
Right.
Is it, like you said earlier, is it coming from you? Is it coming from some type of generational curse that's on your bloodline? That's why you got to study your ancestors and the history of your ancestors and know what. Try to understand the history of your lineage so that you can understand, better you now in the present tense currently, right? So that you can try to have a positive influence on now and the future of your lineage. It's a thin line because sometimes things can really be happening. Sometimes it's in people's minds. So now we have mental illness in there, like the definition said. Now you throw that in there, it's a slippery slope. You have to be very skilled and really pay attention and take your time to address these type of issues, because this is a deep topic and it's not just plaguing the Orisha community, but
it's the whole world.
Mental illness, is in crisis, especially here in the United States.
Yeah.
So we see it,
and we know that comes from
all the time.
For Africans born here in America, we know a lot of that mental illness. It comes from slavery, transatlantic slave trade,
never dealing with that, all of that stress and all that trauma,
all of that stress, frustration, trauma,
gets
abuse,
handed down generationally.
The way. And I'm sure you heard coming up, some of your elders in your family used to say, well, such and such used to beat me with this. And then as time goes up, it gets a little lighter. Y'all don't get beat like we used to get beat.
Right.
But all of that kind of beating and stuff like that comes from slavery. And like you said, it's the stress, the frustration, all of that pressure, all of that unhealed
trauma wounds and negative energy. So now these wounds have become infected over these generations.
Over time.
So now what happens is, you still got, police brutality and you got all of that, but now it's mainly us doing it to ourselves now because we haven't healed from that psychosis. So now we perpetuate the abuse to ourselves. To our own selves, to each other, to the young black men gang banging that's just shooting each other down every day in the street. Now, the Klan don't need to do that no more. Because we doing it.
Because they've taught us to do it to each other. Now they can just sit back and watch us destroy each other. Yeah. Like family don't exist no more. Marriage don't exist no more. You got male and female domination. Everybody's trying to dominate each other. All of that stems from, it's a psychosis, but it's more of a cultural and a spiritual psychosis where we're not seeing reality. Our culture is what gives us reality, but people don't want to follow
They don't
no
want to follow
culture.
that.
They don't want to follow
They want
no
to
culture.
follow this.
They want to follow the phone,
Social media,
or they want to get a charm, or they want to get some type of charm or bag or something to protect themselves from the boogeyman, or what they think is the boogeyman. And the boogeyman can be the next door neighbor. It can be the husband or the wife right in the house. Is like
the ex or
whoever. Like it's the boogie. It's this boogeyman.
And we have to do careful investigation to make sure that it's not those people, because sometimes it can be. It
can be their energy, or it can be the mere fact. Maybe y'all not compatible. Maybe you should have got a marriage reading. Maybe you should have got a relationship reading to see if y'all were compatible. Those can be issues. And it's not saying the man is bad or the woman is bad. It can be just the mere fact that y'all are not compatible.
Y'all
it's not
supposed
destiny
to be
for
together.
You know? So all of those things can bring that stress, that frustrations, which can cause a spiritual psychosis. And since we're talking spiritual psychosis, that psychosis can come from your spiritual belief system in itself. The abuse.
That can intensify it and enhance it, because now you already had that trait. So now you come into, let's say you come into Orisha. Oh man. Now you can go crazy. Now you done read and you done learned about all these different energies, that you got so many things that you can blame stuff on. The Ajogun, the Iami, Eshu.
IFA said so. You hear a lot. That's a famous one. Well, IFA told me. IFA said so. I got a reading.
The Babalawo trying to kill me. Really?
Yeah, that's a famous
one. How you know
one
that?
Too.
I checked on it. IFA said he was.
IFA said.
You checked on it.
Right. I threw the Obies.
Stop it. I'm telling you. And you can, this is a deep topic, because here's the tricky part. There are people, men and women, if you look at them on the surface, they look normal. They might have a nice job. They perform well on the job. You know, corporate America, whatever. They got a job. They don't have no problem holding the job down. They got a nice house, might have a nice car, nice things and all that. You know, that part is there. But once you get to actually talk to that person and you know them, and then you peel back, you lift up the hood and look under there, I'm telling you, mental illness, spiritual illness, emotional illness, trauma, that stuff is real.
It's real.
It can be real tricky and difficult, because and that person, they might be attractive, you know, male or female. And you don't see that mental illness occur until there's a trigger, or you have a conversation with them, and then you be like, this person is crazy.
Yeah. You got in our spirituality, like you said, there's so many energies and so many forces to blame on. But it also is when they start saying like, oh, look at all these Orishas, they're amazing. I want to get initiated to each one of them. How can I buy into that?
And if you got the money,
how can I get initiated? I know I'm a Omoyemonja, but I want to get initiated to Ogun. I want to get initiated to Shango. I want to get initiated to Aja. Next thing you know, you walking with
it's too much.
There 10 different Orishas on your head, and you confused and blind. And you're delusional. Now you thinking your husband or your wife is your enemy. Now you done been pimped.
That happens.
You done been pimped by somebody that told you, oh, I can easily get her. She's psychotic. She want all of the Orishas. Okay, I'll sell them to you. That's what you want to buy?
Got them constantly doing divination and eyeball.
Yeah, telling you your husband, telling you your husband is the devil or the bad guy, or
and they
telling
believe
you
it.
your wife is the she devil or whatever.
Your kids, I've seen it all.
And they believe it.
They believe it
because
that the Ori is not strong enough to discern when somebody's kicking some BS to them. You know what I'm saying? And when somebody's speaking real to them, they don't have that level of discernment. And then new people, they don't know what they don't know. They don't know who is who and what's what. So they in a rush and they get caught up on social media. Somebody approach them or whatever, or they kind of go with the first thing or the first person that they see or they run into. And a lot of times it doesn't go well.
Yeah, but because, and one thing we got to understand, the new people that do come in, some of them are coming with this illness.
They're coming in with the illness, with the trauma, with the emotional
with all of that,
with the baggage.
If they're misled, because I believe you can help them, but you got to be gentle with the person. You can't just throw them Orisha pots and they Ori is not in alignment, or they don't have their ancestors established.
Right.
They just getting Orishas but they still delusional.
They're still delusional. They're not in alignment. The Ori and the Ori and Nu, their outer head and their inner head are not in alignment. So nothing that's your foundation. Your Ori and your ancestors, also Egbe, that's newer over here, but that's basically your Ori and your ancestors are your foundation. If your foundation is not strong, anything you build on top of it, it's not going to be right.
Like I always say, you can have all of the Orishas, but if you don't have your ancestors, your Orishas don't have a foundation to stand on. Now the Orishas is floating. They floating like you floating.
Right.
So you and your Orisha is just floating, has no foundation. I mean, I know people like this that are
it's plenty
that are IFA priest, Babalawo, and Iyanifa. So-called, and they floating. They got 10 different initiations. They got Orisha pots that they don't even take care of no more.
It's just as dry and crusty.
They don't even know what to do.
They don't even know.
They just
I was about to say, a lot of people receive Orisha. And they get these pots, and they don't even really get clear instruction on what to do, on how to feed the Orisha and what to say and how to take care of it and how you're supposed to work with it, how you're supposed to progress with it, how do you establish a communication, relationship with the Orisha. Like, people will say anything.
It's a market. If you want to buy it, I'll sell it. You know what I mean? And the delusion, this is spiritual psychosis, so one becomes delusional about and confused and have a lack of understanding about how the system works.
Yeah.
You work on your head because you got to understand when you're coming into anything that's new, your Ori has to accept it.
Yeah.
And if your Ori don't accept it, it's not for you.
It's not going to work for you.
Don't try to if it's not working for you, don't try to force your way.
Take your time.
Because now you're going to start swimming in deep water and you're going to go so deep that you ain't going to be able to come back.
Yeah. I've seen people in Africa and, I've seen a few people. They might receive Egbe or do an Egbe initiation, and then for whatever reason, they just put their Egbe down. They just leave it, and they for whatever it is, they just kind of like, okay.
They're confused. They don't have,
and that never goes well because I've seen the end result, and things happen to those people, and then they have to try to come back and reestablish that relationship with their Egbe. And you don't want to do that. Like, I've seen that. I've seen people in Africa that have come all the way from an hour or two away to get the water, the special Agbo, Egbe, to get the special water to drink because things ain't going right with them because they wash their hands of that Egbe. It's nothing to joke around and play around with. If you're going to do that, you'd be better off just not doing it at all and just waiting until your Ori is ready to receive that.
Yeah, I don't believe in I believe in doing things gently and taking your time because you got somebody's life in your hand. And if they're spiritually ill, you have to take your time with them and you have to do a lot of work on their Ori, ancestors, and Egbe.
Yeah.
Don't get caught up into, well, if I said you got to receive Shango or you got to do, no.
We're going to do that, but we got to build our way up to that.
Right.
Because there's going to be too much energy.
Way too much. And it's too much for remember, these people are spiritually ill. They have a psychosis. It's a spiritual psychosis. They're delusional about their spirituality. They're going in and out. 1 minute they want, 1 minute they want to do it, and then the next minute they don't want to do it. Then they want to come back.
And then
they want to check out.
Right.
And they want to come back. Then they want to check out.
Right.
A lot of times when they come back, it's because something has happened.
Something happened. That's exactly why they come back.
Something that happened, and now they want to rush to the priest. And then when they get it done and it works out, you don't see them no more. You don't see them until it's another problem.
Until it's another crisis.
So it's like, stop coming to me when there's a problem. Do you have a problem?
And stop, if you haven't been trained and you're not an experienced priest or priestess, stop going to your shrine and asking certain questions that you're not qualified to ask.
I don't think some people know how to ask their Orisha questions with OB. I don't think, because it's a way you ask these questions.
It's the way you ask
when you use an OB.
And there's certain questions that you're not qualified to ask. That's a deeper.
That's a Okwele or
Ikin or Arindin Logun. Go to an experienced priest because some of y'all are out here taking OBs or whatever you got, shells, and asking these deep, serious, life-altering questions, and you taking the answers that you getting and you running with it. That's not how this works. It's certain type of questions that you're qualified to ask. Certain other things, don't do it because you're going to go down the rabbit hole.
Don't ask the OB, do I have to do an eyeball to Eshu? Do I have to do a goat to Eshu? You know what I mean? And then, you throw the OBs and they say yes, and then you try to go, you know what I'm saying? It's like...
Yeah. It's certain things that you just don't... You don't ask.
You got to take your time because I know people think, like, people rush into this and they think they're going to have all the protection if they do something wrong. But this is also a spirituality where sometimes you deserve a spanking. You deserve a whooping. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if you can't get back up from that whooping, then it's like you're gonna lose it because there's lessons to be learned in this too. And people don't understand that that's why you have a spiritual guide or godparent or something like that. But now you got godparents that are delusional.
That's where we want to get to.
You got godparents.
Some of y'all don't even know it, and they're leading y'all down
the rabbit hole,
dead end road, down a rabbit hole that's not going to end well because you don't know enough to know that this person that's supposed to be teaching you, godfather, godmother, whatever, they are suffering from spiritual psychosis themselves.
And some of them just retire from owning the trap.
Facts.
Seriously. You know,
No, it's
Abba
real.
Sagerman said these times will come. He foresaw it. He said, we gonna bung it up. We're gonna mess it up. It's gonna get, people are gonna become so, they're gonna treat this like a religion. And now you're gonna start seeing the Bible like thumpers. So now you're gonna see
Orisha
thumpers. You know what I mean? It's like, and when you get so caught up into spirituality and you start relying on spirituality to take care of everything, or you start relying on the Orishas to take care of everything, that's where the psychosis come in.
That's where the psychosis
now you
come
done
in.
lost touch of reality. Now you don't want to get up and work. You want to sit back and
give offerings to IJ,
give it to IJ, and wait for the money to just drop from the
manna,
sky.
Yeah, the manna gonna fall from heaven. You just it don't work that way.
You know, I like, I think it's in, I saw, who was I looking at? Somebody's, they had a book, Our World. I don't know if it was Ovi Gunwa, but he was explaining, I don't know if it was him, it was somebody, but they had some Akoshe medicine, and they was telling what this Akoshe medicine can do. But then they also said this Akoshe is good for attracting money. Bum, 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 bum. But then on the other side, they said, you got to go and work for it too.
Yeah.
In order for it to be drawn to you
or
something, in order for it for the medicine to work, you got to get up off your lazy ass.
Exactly.
And go out and go for it.
Right.
And it's gonna come.
And then they meet you halfway.
You
got to have the business got to be, going, the job or whatever it is you're trying to do to get the wealth. You have to have an avenue, for it to arrive. If there's no street for it to come down to get to you, how was it supposed to? It don't work like that.
Yeah. So you can't lose touch with reality. You can't just expect the Orishas to, you go give an offering to Ajay, and then you just go ahead and go back up in your bed and go to sleep and say, well, Ajay gonna bring the money to my door.
The wealth and the prosperity.
You're gonna be waiting.
If I said.
Waiting.
If I said
it's gonna come. It's gonna come in. It's gonna come in 10 hours to my doorstep.
Delusional. So it's this one thing I know about
Yoruba culture, we don't do money rituals. We don't get caught up into they probably do it now.
Not money rituals in that sense, but
I'm saying they might do it now because people are so geared towards getting money now. So you might got some awos out there that say, okay, yeah, I can do a money ritual for you. Or you might have some priests that say, yeah, I'm doing, is that what you want? Okay, it's going to cost you this.
Yeah, some people that'll do it.
They'll sell it to you.
It's going to come at a cost,
but
though.
we really don't get too deep into doing a lot of rituals because Yoruba people are hardworking people.
Yeah, and we do something to assist the hard work that we're doing,
and
which is sacrifice, and then maybe some akoshe or something like that,
and then we go out
and then we go get it. But the whole money ritual thing, that's a no. Y'all can find information out. That's out there. Man, this spiritual psychosis, we have a lot of personal experience from people that we've dealt with. Clients. I've seen it firsthand. People go from Ile to Ile.
Yeah,
somebody at every Ile is trying to kill them or trying to hurt them or is evil or is something like that. And they come to you for help, and then you do everything that you can to help that person and spend time, talking to them and all those things. And then eventually they run off, and then you become,
become the enemy.
You become the enemy somehow.
I know how that go.
So this is an example of spiritual psychosis where you do have situations where people always think somebody's doing something to them, and that's not always the case. A lot of times, most of the time, that's not actually the case. It could be something else that's going on that has other causes, or what you perceive your issues, or you perceive these blockages, or it might be, like I said, the first place you need to look is in the mirror. But when there's mental illness or psychosis involved, people don't really have the ability to do that.
They don't look there. They're not going to look.
They're not going to
look at themselves. They're not going to look at themselves because they're so deep into somebody is doing it to them that when somebody's telling them you're doing it to yourself, they're not going to believe that.
Listen, bro, I've heard people say, "Oh, every time I walk past your shoe, my stomach hurts." Or something. I'm feeling something from your Orisha. What I've seen and heard that.
Oh yeah, I've got that too.
All type of different things, saying that people did things that never happened. Like, the mental illness is real. Now we got some brothers out in Detroit, our Maywa brothers, our martial arts brothers. Yeah, I know that they're heavy with the Osine, with the plant medicine. And they're having a lot of good results with treating mental illness with very powerful plants, similar to what the shamans do in the rainforest with ayahuasca and peyote and those other things. For some people, I believe that the divination and sacrifice plus the Osine is the only thing that can help certain people, because their plant medicine, as y'all know, is deep, and it bridges that gap in those worlds. It transcends all those worlds with the physical, with the spiritual, with the mental and the emotional. When they take that natural medicine, they go there and they have trips, and they've been getting good results. Because you got a lot of people out here that are suffering from mental illness and mental or spiritual psychosis, and the elbow and the sacrifice alone and dealing with the Orisha alone is not going to totally solve their problem. It's the medicine, it's the Osine, it's that plant medicine that's going to finally help them.
Yeah, I think I have a wavering belief in Osine, ancestor work, Ori work, Orisha work.
I say.
I believe it. I believe it can do the job, but it has to be gentle.
Yeah.
And it's got to be on time.
Yeah.
And it's got to line up with the Oshe, IFA days, and
you need all that energy,
all of that time,
and the alignment, and the time. That's what spirituality is.
Yes,
doing the right thing
at the right time
for the right reasons. For that is the definition of spirituality.
Ashe.
So when you use all those things, you use the Oshe days in the calendar, you use Idafa and sacrifice, you use Akoshe or the Osine plant medicine or whatever, I believe, and you do it gently and carefully.
Yeah, you can't rush it. Because spiritual work is got to be done gently.
Yeah, it's not a rush
and then
thing.
Also, one of the biggest problems is what we are eating.
Yeah, food should be our medicine, and that makes it worse. If you eating bad and you already have some issues, that just it intensifies it. It intensifies any illness in the body.
And then another problem is, and I know people might disagree, but it's the economic system we live in. That causes mental illness too, because
stress.
If the stress,
and
people got to get up on this time, on this clock.
Time, yeah.
They gotta be on this clock. And so what happens is, and it becomes a routine, is when you know you got to be to work at 9 o'clock. Think about you doing that 360 days. You got to get up and run.
Yeah, it's rough,
you got to get up and run.
And rush.
You got to rush.
When you get off, you got to.
Yeah, and you have no time for yourself. And it's like, and that can trigger some things.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You know what I mean?
Definitely.
That's so, and then it causes mental problems and instabilities. Because IFA is the equilibrium. Or they say Orumila is the equilibrium. This IFA spirituality is about balance. And being in harmony. And aligning your spiritual head and your physical head. That's what gives you perfect balance when you get. So you gotta work on your Ori. And this IFA system, that when you read IFA, you hear a lot, if anything, more about the Ori than anything.
Yeah.
Nothing happens without. If the Ori ain't in alignment, you can't connect with no Orisha or no ancestor or no Egbe if your Ori is not together. If you don't have any type of balance or you're not working towards no balance. If you in this to try to get a whole bunch of Ilekes and chieftaincy titles and become a king.
Yeah.
And become the greatest juju warrior ever, then you're not in it to establish a legacy or a family or anything like that.
Benny.
And you just coming in, then you're in it for the wrong reasons. Because trust in me, if you coming in for those reasons, it's gonna be a hard lesson. And it's going to be a hard lesson.
Oh yeah, I want to dive into something. Another part of this spiritual psychosis. I read this earlier, but I want to dial in on this particular part right here because this is a different angle.
Okay.
Spiritual psychosis is a mental health condition that occurs when a person's spiritual experiences become so intense that they can't distinguish between reality and their spiritual perceptions. It can cause symptoms similar to a psychotic episode, such as delusions, hallucinations, paranoia, personality changes, confusion, and intense emotional disturbances. So on that note, there are people here that can see spirits. Right? We have seers here. We have people that they can see spirits. If you don't have, and I've dealt with this too, with different people. One of my stepdaughter one time, I've helped numerous people who can actually see spirits. And if they don't have any spiritual training or any knowledge of those type of things, that it's okay, and somebody there to tell them that what you're seeing is real, you're not crazy, they can go crazy.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what this is saying. Some people have intense spiritual experiences that are happening for real, but they don't have an outlet. They don't have a spiritual system. They don't have a teacher or a guide, somebody that can say, hey, I understand what this is. Let me teach you some things and let me show you how to use this power and help that person, to give them the spiritual power and energy and overstanding for them not to go crazy. Because there's a lot of people now that's locked away in mental institutions because they're actually highly spiritual, but society has convinced them that they're crazy. And then once you get on that medication and once you get into that system, it's hard to get out of it. But a lot of these people are actually having real intense spiritual experiences, but they don't know how to digest it. They don't know how to navigate it.
Yeah.
So we see that too. That's a different part of it. Some people are born with certain abilities and gifts, and if that is not explained to them, and there's nobody to help guide them in that, this society had you thinking you cuckoo. They had you thinking you crazy.
Because this society don't understand any form of any African spirituality.
They only deal with the five senses. Mm-hmm. So if it's outside of that and what they call science, it's not real. You need medication. You know, you crazy because you got people that can see things. You also have people that hear, that can hear things, that hear voices. So they'll tell you that you're crazy. Yeah. No, those people are clairvoyant. They can hear spirits and voices speaking to them. They just need training and they need the proper spiritual care and guidance to harness that. That's a gift. That's actually a gift. Mm-hmm. That's a power, spiritual power that they probably have through their bloodline, through their lineage.
Gotcha. Yes.
And they in insane asylums right now because according to the Western world, you're not supposed to hear voices. Right. You're not supposed to see spirits. You're not supposed to astral travel and do all these different type of things that Africans do.
These are senses.
Extraordinary senses.
Extraordinary senses. Mm-hmm. And
so you have that's another part of it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get a lot of people sometimes say, you know, I thought I was going crazy, but you know, you explained it to me and and thank you for making sense. Right. Because now I know I'm not crazy. I just have a gift and I got to learn how to, somebody need to teach me or show me how to use this gift that I have.
Yeah. Yeah. You know? It's very interesting, and I'm sure people out there that's in the mental health field, you know, I'm sure y'all feel what we're saying and understand what we're saying because, you know, if you on the front lines, y'all see this stuff every day. And we see it as priests within this tradition. And this a recent thing. It gives people that are like that, it gives them the ones that think something's happening and somebody's doing, they're paranoid, but this all happening in their own mind.
What about the ones who have titles and they have psychosis? What about the ones who are priests and priestesses?
Yeah, they're out here. So-called. They're supposed to be priests and priestesses.
What about the ones that you may be sleeping right next to?
Sleeping with the enemy.
Sleeping with the enemy. Like, and they just delusional.
I got a call today. I can't say, you know, of course I can't say any name. I literally got a call today about somebody's wife that's dealing with, you know, spells and some dabbling in witchcraft and different things like that. And it's not going well for either one of them. Right. So
them backfired.
And I think that from what was explained to me, I think that the other person that's in the relationship that's doing these things is suffering from some type of psychosis or something, because I'm listening.
Sound like it.
And I'm the person's narrating the story to me, and I'm like, I heard this before. I said, don't, you know, you're not the only one that's going through this right now. And what that other person is doing is actually having real negative effects in their life and the other person's life. And the other person really doesn't know anything about it, you know, as far as they're not really into the culture or whatever like that. So it's a deep topic.
It's out here, and it's deep in our tradition. It's really deep, you know, in our tradition, because you got to understand, a lot of people come from different spiritual backgrounds, and then they come into the IFA spirituality, and they are carrying those spiritual illnesses that they got from the previous school of thought, as they say. Now they coming into this school of thought, carrying it right on in this, and don't even know it.
I also had another situation where a brother of mine, he was new coming into the culture. Of course, first thing we did, set up the the ancestral shrine, altar, whatever. And that's all he had. So this particular person has some very strong ancestors and very strong ancestral energy, especially from the men in his family. And they narrated to me that, because I gave them the procedure, I told them what to do at the altar. So they were going and they were doing those things. And then this person told me that he just got angry. Like he would be in front of the shrine doing his ancestral work and doing his prayers and stuff, meditating, and he would just be overcome with anger. Right? So we had to check into it. So it turns out for this particular person, because I'm mentioning that because the spiritual psychosis talked about, that was an intense spiritual experience that he had that caused a shift in his emotion. So that's why I'm mentioning this, right? It's right out of the textbook.
Okay.
So he had to go to his hometown, and there were some ancestors that he had to appease. He had to go out to where they were buried at. And he had to do a couple of things out there. And then after that, everything calmed down. So then that's another angle where people have legitimate, intense spiritual experiences that can lead to different emotional states, anger or sadness, or you see people. So, it's deep and it's real. So gotta take your time. You gotta be careful, be gentle with these things, because it's a delicate balancing act that we trying to pull off with all these different areas of life: the spiritual, the mental, the emotional, the physical, right?
Economical.
We want to just
all of that.
Say we love y'all, and we thank y'all for continuing to support us. Please like, share, and subscribe. We are going to sign off for this episode. We give thanks and praise in the name of Olodumare, the ancestors, all the forces and energies. May they bless us and protect us with good health, long life, and all erase. Kosi Bugbo Ajogun.
Kosi.
I am Awo Ifa Jaminire.
And I am Awo Ifa Tegunshe.
And you are tuned into
the best,
the greatest
podcast
on
the planet
Earth. Let's talk
IFA.
Ashe wa. Odabo for now. Ire lopo. Agbo ato. Asure wori wofu. Ashe.